Hey everyone, this is Nurse Jessica and this is my channel, Real Nurse Talk. I'm finally back. It's been 2 weeks since I posted anything. I think I got really excited with the start of this and maybe posted too much. Then I used up my reservoir of videos and then I got super busy. This is life. Anyways, we're back this week to continue our Getting Admitted series. What happens when you get admitted to the hospital, how it happens, and who you need to ask what questions, etc., etc., etc. So like I said, this is my channel, Real Nurse Talk. I'm Nurse Jessica, here to give you all the details, the inside scoop on nursing and being a patient in the hospital. If you like this channel, please like below, please subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. I'm gonna start dropping my videos every Wednesday, and also comment below if you have questions or if there's something that you'd like to see. So without further ado, let's get started with part 2. So, Part 2, getting admitted to the hospital. As you may remember when we left off, basically I talked about everything that happens from you being sick up to getting to your assigned unit. If you haven't seen part 1, please watch it. That would make sense, right? It's before part 2. So if you are looking for that video, I will link it below. You've gotten to your assigned unit. That could be med-surg, that could be telemetry, that could be ICU. So let's assume that you are conscious and alert and oriented at this point in time, and then we'll go through what happens if you're not. So you get to your unit, you're going to get what we kind of like to call settled in. So you get the patient settled in. That means that if you haven't already been asked all the doctor's admissions questions in the ER, they're going to come up and ask those to you now. So you're going to be admitted by the doctor and you're going to be admitted by the nurse. The nurse has their own set of admission questions to ask you. It might seem redundant, but this really does help the nurse get to know your personal history really well, which means that we can give a good report to the oncoming nurse once we're done with shift. And that improves continuity of care. Make sure that everyone's aware of your allergies, your history, what procedures you have done, what procedures you need to get done. So sometimes you might feel, especially if you're in the hospital for more than a few days, might feel like you're just in this weird vortex of hearing the same things over and over and over again, but it is for your safety, which you'll probably also hear and you'll get really annoyed by hearing, but it's true. Okay, so what does getting settled in mean? So once the hospitalist, which is a doctor that works just in the hospital, or if you're in the ICU, it's probably an intensivist, which generally they only work in the hospital too. So a doctor that works in the hospital, unless you happen to have a primary care provider that has rights within that hospital, which some primary care providers do, which that means that they can take care of you outside the hospital as well as see you in the hospital. Side note, some people like that because the doctor's really familiar with your history. As a nurse, I don't think it's the best thing. It sounds great on the surface, but what's great about the hospitalist is that they're there, that's their only job. So it's really easy to get orders from them. They're more on time. If a family member wanted to talk to them, but they miss them, a lot of times they can come back to the room to talk to you. If you're just seeing your primary care provider, guess what? They've also still got all their patients on the outside. So usually they're not going to come in till after 5 p.m. I know some that don't come in till 10, 11 at night, which that's probably not when you want to be asked the most questions. It's probably not when your family members can be there to also ask questions if that's something that they want to do. So yeah, there's some plus and minus there. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So you're getting settled in. Whichever doctor that is assigned to you is gonna put in orders. So maybe they want to start some IV fluids. Maybe you still need an IV itself. Maybe you need a Foley. Maybe you're nauseous and they put in all your meds so we can get you some nausea medication and some pain medication. Basically, they're going to put in orders. And as a nurse, it is our job to implement doctor's orders, most simply. Not that we don't do other things, but I think that if you're wondering what a nurse does, we implement the doctor's orders. So the doctors have to put in the orders before we can do anything. And that includes, whether or not you can eat and drink, includes if you're on bed rest or your activity level, what imaging you might need to have done, medications, all of that. So that's what we're gonna do. So you're gonna be up in your room. We're gonna be hooking you up maybe to some fluids, probably hooking you up to some machines that are gonna be reading your vital signs. Nowadays, a lot of hospitals order SCDs, which are sequential compression devices. Those go on your legs, and they sort of pump your legs to help with circulation, because obviously when you're sick and you're in bed, you're not being very active, so your circulation is not quite up to par with what it probably usually is. Okay, so now you're settled in. You might also have to sign a few papers. As the nurse, we're also going to do your head to toe assessment. So we're going to be assessing your level of orientation. We're going to be looking at your pupils, at your mouth. We're going to be listening to your heart, your lungs, your stomach, checking your pulses, looking for swelling. This is all part of getting a good baseline for where you're at in the hospital, because if you don't have a good baseline, then the doctor's not going to know if you're improving or if you're getting worse. Usually that's going to be about it for that day. Once you're there, we're getting you started on your meds, we're getting you settled into your room, the doctor's already come to see you, probably get some imaging done if necessary, and then it's going to be nighttime before you know it. And the night nurse is going to come in and they'll give you your nighttime medications. They're there for you all night. They don't sleep. I should say we don't sleep because I work nights now. But we're there to help you with any needs. And of course, if there is some sort of acute change, we can still get a hold of the doctor. Some places have a doctor that comes in and kind of takes over all the patients overnight in case there's any emergencies, but they're not necessarily familiar with your case. And then some doctors just have us call them, but obviously you're trying not to call the doctor at 2, 3 in the morning. So we try to just use the tools that we have in our orders that they've given you to help you with whatever you need. So that's that. And then comes the next day. So you're going to realize that there's kind of a flow of things while you're in the hospital. You might not realize this at first if you've never been. So this is why I'm making this video, to help you feel more comfortable. So you're going to wake up in the morning. If you have an ordered diet and you're not NPO, which means you can't take anything by mouth, which you might be that if part of the reason you're there is you can't swallow, or if maybe you're having a surgery the next day. So if you can eat, you're going to have breakfast. The doctors are going to start rounding. At my hospital, they usually do this between 9 and noon. There's always some doctors that come in a little bit earlier, some that come in a little bit later. And people always want to know when the doctor is going to be there. The best we can do is give you a time range, because generally they start with their sickest patients and they work their way up until the patients that are about to get discharged. So the doctor's going to come round on you. They're going to do their assessment of you. Probably the nurse has already come in and given you your morning meds and done their assessment. You're going to get a head-to-toe assessment every shift, every day by the doctor, and then every shift by the nurse. I just showered and did not do my hair, so I'm like, anyway, whatever. It is what it is. We just got to make videos sometimes. Can't always look perfect. Okay, so now I want to go over who to ask what questions. I think this is really important, because a lot of times patients will ask me something that I just can't answer. Either maybe legally I can't answer it, like they might want to know what was on my chest x-ray, what was on my CT. Only doctors can read that and give you that information. Or maybe I don't know. Maybe the doctor started a new medication, but they didn't talk to me about it, why they're starting it. So I can't exactly tell you why we switched from one antibiotic to another, or why we started you on any medication. So my tip here is to have written down your questions for the doctor before they come in the morning, because it's really easy to forget your questions or forget you have questions at all when they come in and start updating you on everything, and we're talking about this and how are you feeling, and they're doing their assessment and it goes so fast, and then they are going on to their next patient. So just write down what you have, because then you can say, okay, before you go, can I ask you these questions? And there they are. Bam, bam, bam. Good questions for the doctor are anything that's going on with you physically that you're worried about, but especially pertaining to your diagnosis of why you're there right now. So let's say you're there for a heart attack. If you're starting to feel chest pain again, bring that up to the doctor. If you're wondering what kind of medications am I going to be started on for that, bring this up to your doctor. If you're wondering how can I prevent this from happening again, bring that up to your doctor. A lot of times people want to try to, since they're in the hospital anyways, they want to try to address every issue that they've been having for the past 3 years because there's a doctor right there. That's for your primary care provider. And you're going to be expected to make an appointment with them when you leave anyways. So just save those questions. Like if you're like, also, my feet have been hurting and I haven't been walking is good. It's not that they can't provide you with like a physical therapy consult or a case management consult, but chronic problems that you've had for a long time that aren't causing you real illness right now, like maybe just having general anxiety or depression, what have you, that's best to take up with someone that you see outside on a regular basis. So anyways, those are the questions for the doctor. Also, a lot of people want to know, where am I going after this? What is this facility they're sending me to like? What is the plan? How fast can I get out of here? Or basic insurance questions. Those are all great for the case manager, which there's always going to be a case manager assigned to you. And as far as I know, they always see everyone at least once. If you're someone who's normally independent at home, you're here for maybe you had a hip surgery, you're doing good, you're going to go back home again, they probably won't see you as much. The people who are going to see the most are the people who need home health or who are transferring to another facility. So if you have questions like that about insurance, authorization for medications that are being prescribed, where you're going to go, those are good for the case manager. The other ones are pretty easy. If you have questions about walking, mobility, the best way to move, that's physical therapy. If you have questions about basic activities of daily living, if you're having trouble brushing your teeth, getting dressed, moving about your house, that's occupational therapy. If you're having trouble swallowing or speaking, those are questions that you would ask to a speech language pathologist, who, if you are having those issues, they're going to put in an order for you to see that person. If you're having issues with breathing or with any of the medications that you're getting, maybe they're making you feel funny, anything lung-wise, ask the respiratory therapist. Of course, I think that all kind of begins with the doctor, and then they'll put in the orders for these people to consult to you. So still ask the doctor those things, but if you really want to get in depth, those people specialize in those areas. So really ask them and utilize their time. So what about me, your primary nurse? That's what I'm called, the nurse that's with you for that 12-hour period. You can really ask me anything. Go for it. And if nothing else, I can either say I don't know, but I can find out for you, or I can ask the person that does know. But of course, it's better, and you're going to get a faster answer if you know who to ask while they're already in the room with you. But of course, for me, if you're having any kind of sudden symptoms and it's when the doc's not there, call me, ask me. I might have something that I can give you that's on your medication record right now. like nausea or pain, or I can call the doctor to get you something. If you need help ordering your lunch, I can help you with that. If you need help going to the bathroom, I can help you with that. Dressing changes, I can do that. But there's also wound care nurses. So if you do have a really bad wound, you'll probably get a wound care consult. So that's another person. I would say if you have specialized questions, the best person to ask is the specialized person for that topic, right? So I think that saves people some stress when they know who to ask what questions. Okay, so that's the basic flow of the day. You have all these people come in to see you, you ask your questions, they work with you, and I just want to encourage you to work with us too. If the physical therapist gives you exercises to do, you got to do them. If the respiratory therapist gives you some breathing exercises to do or an incentive spirometer, use it. You know, this is a two-way street. We can only do so much, and I'm just asking on the behalf of all healthcare staff for your participation and cooperation as well. Okay, that's it for me this week. Thank you for listening. We'll have part 3 next week. If there's anything I didn't cover or questions that you have, comment below. Like I said, like, subscribe, notifications, all that jazz. All right, have a healthy week, guys. Thanks for listening.